going to talk about 5 steps to success today. We're going to break it down into 5 categories. The first one is treat your business like a business. We'll talk about a few quick things that all of us as business owners and entrepreneurs should be doing. Number 2 is know your numbers. I'll share with you a couple of things that are really important for you to know, and also how you can use some of those statistics with your clients in a powerful way. Number 3 is all about setting successful systems. The success is definitely in the systems, so we'll share a few of those. Number 4 is to have a written marketing plan. And number 5 is have a daily plan for productivity and profit. There's a great quote by Jim Rohn. He says, "I find it fascinating that most people plan their vacations with better care than they plan their lives. Perhaps that is because escape is easier than change." And I think a lot of us can certainly relate to that. When we got into real estate, it probably took us a little bit to realize, wow, I'm actually a business owner. Even though you all are affiliated with an amazing company, you still, as an individual, have your own business. So I'd like to do a little timed exercise. And to do this, you'll just need something to write down some things on. So grab a, pen and notepad or whatever you have handy. But what I'd like you to do is you're going to write down your ideal business in 90 seconds. So when I say go, you're going to simply write down in bullet point form what would be your ideal business. So it would be like, this many transactions, I make this much money, I, have this much time off. Just quick little bullet points. We're going to do it in just 90 seconds. Time begins now. We have 40 seconds left. All right, everybody, that's time. So now what you all just did was really the start of a business plan. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be some, huge activity that takes, several days to complete. So kudos to all of you who have taken that first step. Now, the next part of this exercise, I'd like you to write down your top 3 business challenges. So don't overthink this, just the top 3 things that you're facing right now in your business. Write those down, please. All right, great. And then finally, the last thing that you're to do is to write down what those challenges are costing you. So it could be something physically, like around your health, could be something, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is. But I'd like you to write down what those challenges are costing you. Now, the reason we do this quick exercise, everyone, is here's what we know about human beings. We all have different personalities, but one thing we all have in common is we are human beings. And here's what we know. Human beings will change for one of 2 reasons, either to gain pleasure or avoid pain. And the most powerful out of the 2 of those is to avoid pain. So we have to identify the pain points in our business before we could then make a choice. Am I willing to do what it takes to change those or not? And so really looking at your business like a business is the first step to that. I always like to say setting goals is defining what you want, but business planning gives you the how to get it. So I'm going to give you just 4 quick, easy business planning components. So here they are up on the screen there. Number 1 is to get clear. So this is simply be really clear about how much money do you want to earn in your business? How many hours do you want to work? Other goals that you have, maybe a goal around how many buyers versus sellers you want to work with. And some of that, of course, shifts with market conditions. Number 2 is analyze. This is where your numbers come in. Knowing all of your numbers, your statistics, where your business comes from, the marketplace trends that are going on. Step 3 is I like to call numbers don't lie. This is where your budgeting comes in, your conversion ratios, your prospecting efforts, really knowing, okay, if I talk to X number of people, that's typically what it takes for me to generate, a transaction, etc. And the 4th one is your marketing plan. This is your lead generation plan. It's going to address the who, the what, and the how. And in order to do any of this, everyone, we've got to start with our why. It's all about knowing your why. And some of you may be familiar with Simon Sinek. Great guy, lots of great books that he's written. In fact, one of his famous TED Talks is all about knowing your why. And he talks about how imperative it is to really center in on what is it that gets you out of bed on the days that you don't feel like it. When you know your why, that's like the rocket fuel of your life. So for some of you, it might be something related to family. For some of you, it might be that you just have a true passion for real estate, and that's your why. I can't tell you what that is because everybody has their own, but it's really important to tune in to what your individual why is. The other piece about a business plan, and some of you may have heard this or maybe done an exercise similar before, and that is to have a mission statement. I like to think of it as a service promise. So when you can get really clear about what your clients can expect from you, it also helps you make business decisions. So think of it this way. What would past clients say to their friends about working with you as a realtor? So if you were a fly on the wall and they were having a conversation about what it was like working with you as a realtor, what would they say to their friends? And just jot down a couple of those phrases. So for me, for example, if I was doing this exercise, I think that, my past clients would say things like, she was very knowledgeable. She educated me about the process. She was great at follow-up. She always, answered her phone most every single time, or if not, certainly called me back in a real timely manner. So you're just going to jot down a few things that people would say that it was like working with you as their realtor. Now, I have to tell you, just for fun, I did this exercise in a live class a few years back. And this group decided that they would come up with the unspoken mission. That's what they called it. So the unspoken mission that they came up with, they said, this is what the public thinks if we as realtors don't have a mission statement. So here was their unspoken mission. I want to sell you a house as fast as I can, make the most money I can so I can retire as fast as I can and never see or talk to you again until you want to sell. So we all got a good laugh out of that in the class. And I kept this because it was a good reminder that the public has no idea what we do. If we don't show our value or have our own mission statement, then they're going to make up their own, which is obviously what we don't want. So I wanted to share with you my business mission statement. If it inspires you or you like aspects of it, take it, make it your own. So here's mine. I strive to deliver more value to you than you expect to receive and to provide uncompromising service based on truth, knowledge, and professionalism. So having a business plan, starting with just those 4 easy components, it doesn't have to take you a long time, is certainly the first step in really doubling your business and getting your business to where you want it to be. All right, so the second one is about knowing your numbers and your stats. This formula is the basis of real estate. It's the GCI formula, or gross commission income. I'm sure everybody recognizes it. We're going to break it down maybe a little bit differently than you've seen in the past. But what I want you to consider are the components of this GCI formula. One is your personal budget. That's everything that it cost you to live. Your mortgage, going out to eat, food, groceries, kids, if you have them, all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, you have a tax liability. We all do. Your business operating budget, I want you to think of that as mostly your fixed expenses. There's always fixed expenses being in real estate. It doesn't matter if you and I sell one house or 100. We have business expenses. And then the marketing budget. Now, the marketing budget, we've broken that out on purpose because we want to understand that it's a little bit more variable. So it's going to vary. And just to give you a number to kind of hang your hat on, so to speak, a good, healthy real estate business spends about 10% or less, of course, if you can, 10% or less of their GCI on marketing. So those are the components, and all of those elements equal your gross commission income. Now, keep in mind, I know that people don't love the word budgets. They think of like the word diet, but budgeting really isn't about not spending money. It's just about being aware of your spending. So it's important to have those budgets. There's lots of easy ways to do it. There's all sorts of spreadsheets and apps and things online that you can, start to put that together if you don't already have that. But let's talk a little bit about your stats. So as a professional realtor, it's important to know our areas that we serve and what the stats are. What does the listing inventory look like? What's our absorption rate? How many sales are occurring? Do we have any distressed properties? What's the average days on market? So you're all familiar with all of those terms, but I just want to remind each and every one of us, it's important to know those stats. That's part of being a professional at the top of our game. I want to share with you an idea that I've used for a lot of years that's worked really well when it comes to statistics and using some of those with my clients. So the first thing is, when I'm meeting a buyer for the first time, I work with a lot of relocation folks too, and they're coming here to Colorado Springs and, they don't know the market. Maybe they've looked online. But one of the things that I want to help emphasize is what's going on in the market. What are the market dynamics? So here's a question that I always ask every buyer that I work with. I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do you know what LPSP is in real estate? Now, everybody that I ask this question to, the answer is always the same. No, I don't know. What is that? Now, I've had a few creative buyers try to make something up, right? They try to come up with something, and that can certainly be kind of fun sometimes. But the LPSP, as all of us know, is the list price to sales price ratio. The list price to sales price ratio. And I explain it to the buyer. I say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, it stands for list price to sales price ratio. It's expressed as a percentage. And it's a data point that we can use to help determine what's going on in the market. So it helps us get a better feel for, what's happening in the market. It's always expressed as a percentage. It's a percentage of the list price versus what it's sold for. So let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. The area of town that you've expressed interest in and some of the requirements that you've shared, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc., just take a guess for fun. What do you think the LPSP was for homes like that last month? And then they're going to say a percentage, everybody. And here's the deal. No, most of the time, they won't get it right. They'll say something like, I had a buyer a few weeks ago who said, well, Chandra, I don't know. I'm going to say 90%. And I said, John, that's a great guess, but actually it's 102%. And usually they'll look at me and say, what, wait a minute. Are you saying that homes are selling for more than they're listed for? And I'll say, yes, I am. That's what's happening in the market right now. So this is a much more powerful way to educate our clients about the market instead of getting into just a full lecture, telling, selling type mode. Anytime you and I can ask a question, it's going to be more powerful than telling them the information. It's also important that we balance emotion and logic. So a few tips on this. A lot of you have used these certainly before. One is the cost of money. Some of our buyers, they just simply don't understand the cost of money. For example, with interest rates being so low, you and I know that a pretty decent cost of money factor to use is about $5 or $6 per thousand. So if someone starts to look at this and say, well, gosh, I mean, maybe I need to spend like 10,000 more than I thought or 20,000 more than I thought. And if they have the capability to do that with their loan, they don't always have an easy understanding of how that impacts their payment. So we want to help them understand that if they spent $10,000 more, their payment's probably going to be about $50 difference a month. Because here's the thing, if they wait, what we call the cost of waiting, some people say, well, it's just not the right time. I mean, the market's so competitive. I don't think I should get in the market. Absolutely their decision. I always tell my clients, I provide, you decide. You're going to make all of the decisions. But I can tell you that my clients 6 months ago, when they were dealing with the stress and the multiple offers and the competitiveness, they're really glad they got in the market because things have continued to appreciate and now they're benefiting from that. But those people have to obviously make that decision for themselves. But if interest rates were to go up, there's a cost of waiting. So not only would prices tend to go up, certainly in my marketplace, that's the trend, probably in yours as well. But if interest rates go up, that also impacts their purchasing power. So carrying cost is something that we can talk to a seller about. You know, we've all been there. If a seller thinks, well, no, I thought I'd get more money, or no, I just don't know if I really want to accept this offer. You know, they have to think about, well, if we don't go with this offer and we start over with another one, what does that really cost you? You know, if they have a mortgage and the upkeep of the house and so on. So going through these tactics, everybody, can help a person balance emotion and logic, because the best decisions that people make, the science shows that for all of us, it would be what's called a balanced brain decision, where we are looking at the emotional side and the logic side. And by going through these with your clients, you can help them do both. Every single buyer that you and I work with, I think we should know if that buyer is more price conscious or payment conscious. And that's been really important, especially today. You know, people get a little bit worked up about, oh my gosh, well, I don't want to pay that much for that house, or I don't think that's worth it. Well, they're either going to have to decide, are they more price conscious, like they only want to pay a certain price, or are they more concerned about, I want to live in this part of the community, have my kids go to this school or experience this lifestyle, etc. And of course, that would be more payment conscious. All right, so the third one is to set successful systems. Now, the success really is in the systems, and I know all of you have experienced in real estate. If you do anything more than 3 times is my mark. If you do anything more than 3 times, we should really have a system for what we do. And the success is in the systems by design, not default. So we want to be really systematic about what we're doing and not just be what we call an on-accident realtor. Like, well, you know, things work out and I kind of figure it out and I get it done. But we really want to be systematic by design. I made up a little acronym for system. I call it save yourself some time every moment, because that's really what it does for us, everybody. It's save yourself some time every moment. You and I, if we have systems, we don't have to spend so much time thinking about what we should be doing. You know, what should I say to this client? What should I ask this seller? What should I, provide for this buyer? If we have our systems in place, we don't have to waste time and energy worrying about what we should be doing, we can simply be in implementation mode. We can just simply implement what we know works well. Now, I'm curious, and if in the comment section, if you would just write a yes or no, just so I can get a feel, how many people are familiar with a system called Ninja Selling? Who has heard of Ninja Selling? Just let me know in the comment section. Just write a yes or no, if you've heard of it or not. That way I can get a feel. Great, thank you. I see a no. If we have any others, you can type that in. Okay, several no's. Steve is yes. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. Well, here's the thing, everybody. Thank you for that. I would say that, in my opinion, after 25 years of doing this, I believe that Ninja Selling is the best system that's out there. And I would highly encourage you, if you're not familiar with it, or certainly even if you are, to get the book. You can get the book. It's also on Audible if you prefer to listen to it, but it's really powerful. And it is the system that I've seen the wealthiest people in real estate run their business use. And Ninja Selling, by the way, just so you know, it started in Fort Collins, Colorado, so just a couple hours north of me. And Larry Kendall is the author. He started a real estate company called The Group back in 1976. And the reason that I bring this up is what's interesting about The Group is they're not a huge company. They have about 200 or so agents, like 215 agents. And every year since the 80s, year after year after year, they always rank in the top 3 in terms of real estate companies in the nation for production per agent. So everybody, that's a big deal. So if you look at that, you think, my gosh, what are these people doing? They must be doing something right. So it's a tried, true, proven system, very easy to do. It doesn't matter what your personality is, what kind of market you work in. It would absolutely work for you. So huge fan of Ninja Selling. I do teach what we call the Ninja Installation. It's a special 4-day event that companies have us come do, all over the nation. They're typically private company events, but it's a really powerful system. And I wanted to make sure that all of you were at least made aware of it so that you could, read the book, check it out, listen to it on Audible. It'll really, really change your life and your business. All right, so wanted to mention that. Now, the other thing is it's important for all of us to be able to have access to everything that we might need on our phone. Now, I'm a Dropbox user. I know some people use, Google Docs and some other things. But the thing that I love about Dropbox is with my app on my, I happen to have an iPhone, doesn't matter what phone you have, but on my app, I can access any document on my computer. So we should never be in a situation, everybody, when someone calls us and says, hey, do you have the covenants, that townhome you have listed? I'd like to review the, rules with my client. They're thinking about making an offer. I should never say to someone, oh, I'm not in the office right now. I'll get that to you when I get back to the office. I mean, those words should just never come out of our mouths with today's technology, everyone. We should be able to go into our app on our phone and access any document that we need on our computer. So really powerful system. Not that I'm saying you have to use Dropbox, but I would encourage you, make sure you have some kind of cloud system so that you're not in that position of asking people to wait for information or, oh, I have to get back to the office, etc. Systems really do keep us sane. It's the difference in working in your business versus working on your business. And really what this looks like, everyone, if we were to break this down, if you and I would work in our business in the afternoon, meaning that's when we typically have appointments and we meet with buyers and sellers and so on, then that leaves the morning time for us to work on our business. And working on our business would be things like working on our marketing plan, working on our database. The database is critical. I know a lot of you know it's absolutely the key to a successful business. And there are a ton of options out there. I mean, your company, probably provides one. You've got just so many of them out there. And look, everybody says, well, what's the best one? And the answer is always the same. It's the one that you will use. It's so critical that we all have a database. And I didn't have one for years, everyone. I mean, I've been in this business 25 years. I got to tell you, first 10 years, I was all paper files, kind of winging it. I didn't really have a lot of systems. Really important to have the database. The database is your gold. And if we just spent even 20 minutes a day working on that, putting it together, and start small. If you're not doing it, make a business decision to do it. Spend 20 minutes a day. Maybe it's just starting with, okay, I need to figure out how to access the one that we're provided and log into it. If that takes you 20 minutes, great. You did your 20 minutes. And then you continue on the next day and so on. So you'd be amazed at how much you can accomplish on your database at just simply using 20 minutes a day. Some of us need some assistance in our business, and some of us will go hire an assistant, but you can get help without taking on a full-time assistant. I'm sure some of you are familiar with a few of the options. I just want to make sure that you are. One popular one that I use a lot is called Fiverr, Fiverr.com. So Fiverr helped me get away from spending way too much time on things that I should not have been spending time doing. For example, when I wanted to have a flyer created for a property, or like on my developments, I wanted some marketing done and some, floor plans and some things, laid out. I jumped on Fiverr and I just type in whatever it is I'm looking for, and it connects you with people who do that type of work all over the world. You can read their reviews, you can, see some samples of their work. And I used it a few years ago. I did a new development here in the Springs, and we were building what we called paired homes. They look like a duplex, but they're individually platted lots. But it was kind of a newer concept here at the time. And so I wanted some 3D renderings done, some floor plans done. And my architect that I was working with, he said, well, Chandra, that'll be about, $2,500 to do what you want to do. And I thought, well, okay, but I thought to myself, I wonder if there's a different resource so I don't have to spend $2,500. I jumped on Fiverr. I typed in 3D floor plans. I connected with a gentleman in Asia, and he did everything that I wanted for $325. So everyone, it's a great resource, lots of opportunities to do things on there related to, marketing, all sorts of things. So I'm a big Fiverr fan. I also use Upwork. Some of you may be familiar with Upwork. It used to be called Elance, but now it's called Upwork. And those two are really great, tried, true, trusted resources where a lot of realtors, just like you and me, have gotten things done and been pleased with them. All right, let's talk about a couple of seller systems. I think it's important for all of us to remember that a professional takes notes. When you and I go to meet with a seller, my hope is that we would have some type of listing intake form. And that listing intake form would help guide our conversation with the seller. I've done a lot of things through the years, everybody. I saw, some of you probably seen it too, where people started to list out what does a listing agent really do. So I took that concept and I had my marketing company that I work with that does graphic design and stuff for me here in Colorado. They created a brochure that I call What Does a Listing Agent Really Do? So it's a really powerful, it's a 4-page brochure, and I use it as my leave behind. It becomes my pre-listing packet, part of that. I've used it to drop off information to for sale by owners and expireds. But I just want you to think about, the public doesn't understand what we do. So the more educational we can be, the more value that we can show that we provide, it's going to make us better realtors. All right, so on the buyer side, when I have an interview with a buyer, just like you do, we want to have a systematic way to take notes. So my hope is that we have some kind of buyer intake form. So this will make us more systematic, especially for some of you who work with others, have team members, etc. It's really important to be able to all be on the same page and gather the same information. So having some type of buyer intake form is critical. Putting together a document. I am a realtor, which I imagine all of you are probably as well, but that means something to me, and it's important for me to convey that to the public. So part of my buyer packet, I have a what I do for you form in there, and it just talks about the importance of working with a realtor and what that means and so on. I also put together a system around what buyers have done to write winning offers in multiple offer situations. So when this came, to be really prevalent a few years ago now, We've been in that a number of years now, certainly. And it was important for me to educate people, not tell them what to do, but give them options and some things for them to consider. So having some systems in place can be really helpful to really show your value to your clients. Another one that you might consider, I've done this for years, and if you go to myfico.com, that's the main credit score that is used today for people to qualify for a mortgage, is the FICO score. They have a booklet. It's called Understanding Your Credit Score. And it's a free download. It's just a PDF document. I use that in my buyer guide, my buyer packet, as well as in my marketing. And I'll tell you, one of the ways that I've used it really well, obviously that was different in the pandemic, but when we did more open houses, and we'll get back to that, people would come in and I would ask them, well, do you have a buyer packet? And they would say, well, no, what's that? Well, it's everything that you need to know to buy property in, Virginia or, wherever you are, whatever your marketplace is. And most people would not have one. And so I would give them a buyer packet, and it would have our state mandatory disclosure. It would have the what I do for you form. It would have this Understanding Your Credit Score document. And it's amazing, everyone, how many clients I've been able to secure that way and be their realtor of choice, because they're not getting that value from other realtors. Most people are just, trying to have a quick conversation with them and see if they can get their information. If you and I provide value first, the business will absolutely come. All right, so that takes us to number 4, which is our written marketing plan. So having a written marketing plan is really critical. I have found that so many agents in our real estate industry suffer from a condition called RAMAS. Now, RAMAS, everybody, stands for Random Acts of Marketing, Advertising, and Selling. And we all, get a good laugh out of this, because what happens typically is we get really busy in the business and we're trying to keep up, we're trying to deal with our clients. And then all of a sudden, all of those transactions close. And then we find ourselves looking around saying, oh goodness, well, what's next? I need some more business. I better go do some marketing or some prospecting or whatever you call it. And we don't want to run our business that way. It's imperative that we implement a written marketing plan. And you've all seen the stats. NAR puts them out every year. They say, okay, clients, how many people would use their realtor again? How many people liked their realtor? How many people would use them again? We have an 85 to 89% satisfaction rate industry-wide. That's really darn good, everyone. But what's unfortunate is when they also do all of the follow-up surveys and find out, okay, who did actually use the same realtor again? That number is 15 to 20%. It's different for buyers and sellers, but that's the typical range. Really important that you and I implement a marketing plan, because what happens in all of those situations is out of sight, out of mind. If people don't know us or remember us, that's why they walk into an open house and end up connecting with that realtor, and then they're off and running before you know it. Even though you may have sold them the house that they're looking at selling 4 years ago, and they loved you and you did an amazing job. But if you are not in touch with them, or what we, as in the ninja system, we call it being in flow with them. If you're not in flow with your people, they will not remember you, and they will take the path of least resistance, and they'll tend to work with any realtor, that they stumble upon that they feel halfway decent about. So when people say to me, well, Chandra, I tried direct mail once, that is not what we're talking about, everyone. The key is consistency. We have to have a marketing plan that addresses the who, the what, and the how. So the who would be, who are we going to send this to? Clients we've served in the past. Maybe we do want to have a geographic farm. Maybe we're sending certain things to our referral base. Maybe it's things we do to generate relocation business, etc. Then we need to identify the what. What items are we going to use? Are we going to do postcards? Is it a newsletter? Maybe we'll do a client event. Maybe I'll get on the phone and talk to people. That works really well, amazingly enough. And then it's going to address the how. So some of the things we're going to mail, snail mail, right? Like maybe a personal card, a note card. Maybe we'll send some postcards. How are we going to distribute it? Some of it might be face-to-face, like a client event. Maybe my newsletter is an email newsletter. I'm going to also do some phone calls, etc. So it's important to identify the who, the what, and the how many, and how often. The easiest way to do this, everyone, is to simply map it out. So as you can see on the screen here, just having a simple Word doc with a table that shows you, okay, here's my marketing calendar. Here's kind of some of the typical holidays. And then you just start plugging things in. You know, a lot of us do birthday cards to our clients. So if that's part of your marketing, great. Some of us do, you know, other direct mail type things. Some of these things you might choose not to do, and that's okay too. But it's important to have it all mapped out. Again, you and I need to be in implementation mode the majority of the time, not always trying to figure out what it is that we should be doing. So if we take the time to plan up front, it's going to pay huge dividends on the back end. And the good news is there's lots of fun and creative ideas that will fit your personality for you all to stay in touch with your clients. I was in a CRS class years ago. This was before I became an instructor. It was as I was going through getting my designation back in the day. And I remember someone sharing in one of the marketing classes there, they said, you know, I do something fun every March. I send out a happy St. Patrick's Day card with a scratch off, $1 scratch off ticket. And that idea, I wrote it down and it always stuck with me. I thought, that's so fun. Like, I've never gotten one of those in the mail. That'd be something fun to open in the mail and send out and so forth. And everybody, I'll tell you, every year for about the next 3 years after that, St. Patrick's Day would roll around and I would think to myself, oh gosh, there was that great idea about sending out the card and the scratch off. And of course, I didn't do it. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do it next year. It wasn't until I got systematic and I really got serious about having a written marketing plan and I laid it all out that I was then able to get my St. Patrick's Day cards out. And that was one of my touches to my database in March. So lots of ideas to implement your fun and your personality and really what speaks to you. And you know your clients best, so you know what they would like and appreciate receiving. I wanted to share with you, I received this on Thanksgiving from a realtor who works at the group. She is a ninja. She's been in real estate 31 years now, I think. Her name is Tammy Spalding. But Tammy, interestingly enough, part of her marketing plan, she has a whole segment of her marketing plan dedicated to agents, to other realtors. And here's why. She identifies that a lot of her business can come from agent to agent referrals. In fact, everyone, last time I talked to Tammy about this, her statistic was somewhere around, I think it was 27% or something like that. I'd have to look up the exact number, but that is a huge portion of her business that comes from agent referrals. And the reason that happens is she is intentional about it and she has a plan. So what she does is she meets agents when she goes to different events all around the country, like you all, maybe go to the RE/MAX convention and so forth, and you meet people. And Tammy does the same to different professional organizations that she goes to their events. And then she puts all of those realtors in her database, and then she makes them part of her marketing plan. So once a quarter, I get something from Tammy Spalding. And it's amazing, everyone, how this top of mind awareness works, because when I have someone who is talking about Fort Collins or Northern Colorado, Tammy's name is the first one that pops into my mind. And that's how she does it. And that's how she gets all of the agent to agent referrals that she gets. One of the other things that I can tell you that would be probably one of the number one things that you and I could do to generate more business opportunities for ourselves is to call the people that we know. Now, I know a lot of realtors are always saying to me, Chandra, I don't have time to call people in my database. And I get that, everyone. However, I will tell you that the most successful, well-balanced realtors that I know in this country, first of all, the ones I've identified follow that ninja selling system. And part of that is really not only having a great business, but having a great life. And what they do is they schedule an hour of power. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. It's not a new concept, but they are just diligent about it. It's a non-negotiable. They absolutely make sure that they do that. And they will call people in their database. And they're so serious about it. They close the door. Everybody knows, hey, I'm making my phone calls, don't bother me unless it's a family emergency or the building's on fire. And they take it very seriously. And I'll tell you, it has gotten people more referral business than most anything that we can see that they do. In Ninja, we call it live flow. So some of you, if you've ever heard that term, I know a few of you have heard of Ninja, but we call it live flow. And what it means is get on with people live, either face-to-face or voice-to-voice on the phone. Really important to do that. It's probably one of the number one things that all of us would benefit from. One of my friends who works with Remax up in Alaska, her name is Julie Erickson, and she had a neat idea that I wanted to pass along. I thought this was really cool. What she does is she puts together cards for her clients who are open to it and willing, of course. Paige is one of those. Paige works in her dad's business. She knows a lot of people. They're very involved in the community. And Paige and her family are big fans of Julie, and they use her for all their real estate needs. So she put together these business cards that Paige could hand out to people. So you'll see here, it says Paige Kennedy, that's the gal's name, calling Alaska home and referring her friends and family to the Julie Erickson team. Then it has Julie's information and everything's handy and right there. So I thought that was a really great idea, an easy way to empower your people who are really your champions, people that really, know you, love you, trust you, etc. And Julie has done that with a few of her clients, and she's had great success with that. So just wanted to share that marketing idea that's worked really well for her. All right, everybody, we're going to move into our fifth item, and that is have a daily plan for productivity and profit. Now, this is really critical for all of us. I know there's so many times we find ourselves saying, oh my goodness, I don't have enough hours in the day. Or we also see in our industry a high percentage of burnout in the industry, which is really unfortunate. But the reason that happens so often is because people are burning the candles at both ends, right? They're, just working too much 24/7 sometimes and missing family events and opportunities and not taking care of themselves and so on. So we definitely need to have a system around really having a daily plan for productivity and profit. How do we get the most out of our day? So this takes us to the very popular, long talked about topic of time management. Now, everybody, here's the reality. It's not really time management so much as it is energy management. And I'll give you a perfect example. I want you to think about the last time you went on a vacation, like a cool, real vacation that you were excited about. Now, I want you to think about that day before you left was just like any other day, in that you had the same amount of hours in the day, same amount of minutes every day, all the same. But how much did you get done that day before you left? Now, for a lot of us, the answer is, oh my gosh, it was amazing and very productive, and I got a ton of stuff done. Well, everyone, the reason is because your energy was focused on getting those things done, and you were excited about your trip, and you really made it a priority. Now, I'm not saying you have to live every day like you're going on vacation the next day, but it's just a good reminder for us that it's really not so much time management, because we all have the same amount of hours in a day. It's more about managing our energy and where we put that towards. So when I started studying this really in depth about, 10 or 12 years ago, one of the things that I realized for us is in our industry, we really have what I'm going to call 3 daily disciplines. So if you and I were to track our time in real estate, and if we were to track it for 2 weeks, which is what I did, by the way, everybody, about 12 years ago, I took this seminar about time management. It wasn't real estate specific, so then I just took the concepts and made it real estate specific. But I put this together and tracked my time for 2 weeks. And what I realized is there's really 3 areas that you and I as realtors spend our time. When we look at how we spend our time related to our business, there's really 3 buckets, if you will. The first one is what I call the growth bucket. So this would be when I'm, prospecting, marketing, anything that I'm doing that's producing money, right? Meeting with clients, showing property, writing offers, etc. The next bucket was administrative. So this was the working in your business. This was doing all of the kind of administrative type things that you and I know there's plenty of those in real estate. And the last category is management, working on your business. So for example, this hour that we're spending together today, if you were timing or breaking down your time rather, if you were wanting to track that to see really where you're investing your time and energy, you would put this hour in the management bucket, the management column, because this is you working on your business, getting ideas, to better yourself, working on elements of a business plan, etc. So when I did this, everybody, I'm sure it's no big surprise to any of you. After the 2 weeks, I looked at everything that I had written down, and I literally just had a legal pad and I just hauled it around with me for 2 weeks. And I just made the commitment and said, okay, I'm going to track my time. And I did it in 30-minute increments. When I looked at it after the 2 weeks, I'm sure it's no shock to any of you, the majority of my time was in administrative. It was in the administrative column. That was really the evidence, if you will, that I really needed to see in black and white. And it was out of that I hired an assistant, because I realized if I really want the quality of life that I want, and I want my business to do a certain level of business and the money that I wanted to earn, I can't do it all myself. I'm spending way too much time on these administrative type tasks that eat up so much time. So that was really a valuable lesson for me. And if it's something that you find yourself in a similar situation, I would encourage you, and if you don't want to do 2 weeks, just do 1 week. Track your time using these 3 columns and really get a crystal clear picture of where you are investing your time and energy. It'll be really telling. All right, so something that every single one of us need to start doing. There's something that's top of your mind. You don't have to tell me obviously what it is. It's only for you. But I want you to just think about what is one thing that you need to start doing that if you started to do, you're really clear it would make a big difference in your business. Now, I know all of us have a really long to-do list and we have lots of goals, and we'd probably argue that, oh my gosh, Chandra, there's probably 20 things that I should start doing. Forget about that, everyone. I just want you to focus on one. Just think about what is the one thing that you could start doing that would make a difference in your business. And then you're going to jot that down. The next thing I'd like you to do is identify what is one thing that you should stop doing. That if you stopped doing it, it would really make a difference in your business. So when I first did this exercise years ago, for me, what came up under stop doing was I needed to stop spending so much time on social media. And I made that shift years ago, everybody. I'm so glad that I did. I, have the business that I want. I earn the money that I want. I don't have a huge presence on social media. It's not a big part of, what I do or who I am. And I live to tell about it, right? I mean, it was hard giving it up because I was so sucked in and so into it. But that was something that I was clear was really a big time suck for me. And if I stopped doing it, I thought it would make a difference. And sure enough, it did. The thing that I chose as start doing was to get in communication with my clients, doing that hour of power, like we mentioned earlier. And I tell you what, everybody, it sure did make all the difference in the world. Getting in touch with people, calling them, asking them about their lives. Please understand, it's not like I'm calling up people and saying, hey, who do you know who wants to buy or sell real estate? We're not doing anything like that. We're calling people and just having a conversation with them, asking them about what's going on in your life. Hey, catch me up. How's your family? How are things going with work? Are y'all back in the office, or are you still working from home? How are you feeling about all that? How's everything? So we're not calling up people and asking for business. We're calling up people and building our relationship with them. So what I did, everyone, years ago is I put together a system. And in the comment box, there was a link to a PDF that you can take. You can copy and paste it into your browser, and it will allow you to download the form that I'm going to share with you. If you don't have to do it now, of course. I just want to share with you the form. But if you want to have access to the form, you will have that available to you. But the system is very simple, and it's this. Build every day around 3 MMAs. Now, an MMA, everyone, stands for money making activity. So the system that I put together about, 12 years ago now or so, it has been really powerful for me and a lot of other realtors that I've shared it with who have chosen to, try it out and use it, because it helps give us focus and get the most out of our days. Now, in order to use the system successfully, there's rules. So there are 4 rules for MMAs. I'm going to share with you the rules. I would encourage you to jot them down, and then I'll give you some examples so that you'll be really clear about how this works if you want to try it out for yourself. So the first rule is that it must be done early in the day. So remember, your goal is to have 3 of these a day, 3 MMAs a day. Must be done early in the day. When I say early in the day, everyone, that's before 12 noon. So you get to pick the time, but before 12 noon. You're going to accomplish all 3 of these MMAs before 12 noon every day. Now, rule number 2, no longer than 90 minutes for all 3 things. Now, there'll be some days, everyone, where you'll accomplish all 3 MMAs in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Sometimes you will take all 90 minutes. So never more than 90 minutes, though. Never more than 90 minutes. So no longer than 90 minutes for all 3 of these MMAs. Rule number 3, it must be measured by time or quantity. Must be measured by time or quantity. And I'll give you an example in just a moment. But just make sure you get the rule down. Must be measured by time or quantity. And lastly, there's no plus or minus carryover. Now, here's what that means, everyone. It's 3 a day, 3 a day, 3 a day. I want you to think of every 24 hours as a new day, and it just starts over. Here's what we don't do. Well, I'm going to be really busy tomorrow, so I think I'll do 5 MMAs today, and then I'll just have to do 1 tomorrow. That equals 6. And divided by the 2 days, that's the average of 3 a day. No, everyone, I mean, while that's very creative and strategic, I want you to recognize the power in this comes by taking every day just as a 24-hour chunk of time. And then we start over. You know, so often we get in this habit of putting ourselves down or berating ourselves or all the negative self-talk, like, oh, I can't believe I didn't get all that done today. Or, oh, here I go again. I didn't do X, Y, or Z. That's not what this is about, everybody. What you're going to do is you're going to write these MMAs so that they are laughable. Okay, so let me give you an example. When I say laughable, it means when you read it, your brain thinks, oh, I can totally do that. Like totally easy. I got this. Let's use an example that we have a goal to be in touch with people that we know, people in our database. And let's pretend that we haven't been intentional about that in the past. We tend to just, return the phone calls that we get. We're not really proactively making a lot of calls to people that we're not in transactions with and so on. And we decide, you know what? These other people are having success with it. I really need to do that. I'm going to try that out. Well, instead of writing on a to-do list, call my database, right? Or call people in my database. When your brain sees that, everyone, it just goes into freak out, overwhelm mode. You're just going to look at that and you're going to think to yourself, oh, yeah, I don't have time to call people in my database. And then you're just not going to do it. But here's how the MMA system works. You would write down, call 1 past client. Now, everybody, you and I can all call 1 past client in a 24-hour period. We can absolutely do that. We may reach them live. We may get their voicemail, right? But the point is that's measured by quantity. Or maybe some of us are thinking, I really should. I've heard for years about that hour of power concept or really using time blocking to, be in touch with people and so on. Maybe I should do that. Well, if we wrote down, an hour of power, it might be a little overwhelming. But if we said to ourselves, okay, one of my MMAs is I am going to spend 20 minutes calling people in my database. That's measured by time. And everyone, please understand, once you've done your 20 minutes, you're done. You move on, you check it off and you move on, to the next task. There's a lot of neuroscience behind this. I've done a lot of reading and studying, like maybe some of you have, about how the human brain works. And it's our habits that really decide our futures, everybody. So if we can get some of these success habits in place, we're going to have the lives, both personally and professionally, that we desire. So it's really important to follow the rules if you're going to try this out, but you need to make it easy. So if you want, go to systemskeepyousane.com. That was the link that was put in the comments. There's a PDF under resources, free resources, and it's called My Daily Planner. So it looks like this. And I first posted this and made this available to people back in 2012. So I'd been using it for a couple years, and then I decided, hey, I should share this with people. So I put it out there, and people have been using it ever since. But if you want to try it out, that's what this form is for. You can see where you put your MMAs. It has a place for you to break down your goals. There's something really powerful about the number 3 when it comes to our human brain. Your brain likes the number 3. When we start getting above 3, like 4, 5 plus type variables and things, your brain physically goes under duress and stress. So you'll notice that that's why this is by design. There's 3 MMAs. And then we're going to break down our goals into 3 sections: 30 days, 90 days, 12 months. And we have 3 daily success habits. Now, the 3 daily success habits, that category is just for things that you want to focus on personally. Like, for example, one of mine right now is drink at least 100 ounces of water a day. So I make sure that I'm set up for that, everybody. I carry my cup around with me everywhere that I go. I know it holds 25 ounces and, et cetera. So that's a daily success habit is just something, a few personal things that you want to focus on. Now, the other game changer on this planner is if you were to take your to-do list that you see on the right-hand side there on the bottom, a to-do list, which obviously many of ours would go on to another page. I understand that. But if you would take that to-do list and put items, 3 to 5 items only on your due today list, it will help you prioritize and get more things done. Because what happens to all of us, everyone, is we have this really long to-do list. Things get lost on it. And in fact, for me, I was losing business because I would write down, oh yeah, I need to follow up with this client or this potential lead or whatever. And then I wouldn't see it for a couple of days because my mind was just all over the place and I had so many things and I didn't get to it. Taking my really long to-do list and every day putting 3 to 5 things on my due today list has been a huge game changer. So I hope you'll consider that. So that's the system, everybody. I'm going to encourage you as we wrap it up here, and then I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. Really think about underwhelming yourself. It's really about the small steps that will get us to big success. So if you liked, a few of these ideas that you heard today, just take one and focus on implementing that, as small steps into your business. People always say that knowledge is power. Well, the truth is knowledge is only power if you and I put it into action. So my hope is that you'll take one to, a few things over the next several months that we talk about today and really put them into action for your benefit in your business. And if you have additional questions offline, then you can contact me directly. My email is chandra@chandrahall.com. My cell phone number is there on the screen. You can call or text me on that number. And the website, again, where you can download that form is systemskeepyousane.com. So John is asking, is the session recorded to listen to again? And I'm going to let Jerusalem answer that, or how you all do that on your end.
Yes. So it is during this entire session, it is also live streaming on YouTube. So John and everybody else, we will send out a video recording, a YouTube recording of the session as well. So you can rewatch this. Chandra, that you've mentioned so many amazing things, and I'm sure our agents are going to rewatch this and pause and play. There's a lot of key important concepts that you've mentioned, and definitely check out her website, guys, systemskeepyousane.com, and there's the contact information. Yeah, so thank you so much. This was so awesome, and we hope to have you joining us again in our next speaker segment. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Oh, thank you, Jerusalem, and thank you all for taking the time. And for those of you on here live, thank you so much. And for those of you listening in the future, if I can be of help or you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And I see Steve's comment would encourage you all to check out Ninja Selling. I'm with you on that, Steve. I think it's one of the best systems that we all could implement into our business. Very, very successful. Tried, true, and proven over the last 4 decades. So they're doing something right with that for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you all so much for watching. Chandra, we hope to see you sometime soon again.
Thank
And
you.
hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye, everyone. Take care.